I was born and raised in the beautiful city of Buenos Aires. I've never had much of a relationship with nature since the landmarks I was used to admiring were always man-made. When I moved to Oregon, I could not help being intrigued by its luscious flora. Plants and trees grow everywhere, and even moss grows on trees. All of a sudden, I found myself being fascinated by nature. I started seeing funky plants in vases all over Portland. Bars, restaurants, hair salons, bookstores, they were everywhere. I was told these were terrariums. I was so intrigued by them. They seemed so simple, yet there was something complex and harmonious about them. So I kind of became obsessed with terrariums, and I think my friends realized because they got me this book, which is pretty awesome. It shows you how to make terrariums, but the best part is that the author lives in Portland, and she has a shop just for terrariums, so I kind of had to check it out.
Well, a terrarium is basically a contained world. You can put anything you like in that world. Shells, rocks. Okay. We have beautiful sands, all different kinds of plants, succulents, house plants, air plants, anything you like, even old jewelry from your grandmother that you don't use anymore, something that's maybe a little broken but you still like it and you want to put it in there as a memento. So really that little world, that terrarium world, can be whatever world you want it to be.
I brought my niece Lucy to help me out. Amy told us to choose a vase, a plant, and a bag of sand and to go to the workstation, where she would guide us through the process.
Agarra la que te gusta. A ver. Divina.
We put sand, plants, rocks, a glass bubble, a purple moss, a bird, and pretty much whatever caught her eye. Don't worry, I'll show you later how it's done. I just loved making this piece, but I wanted more. All the beautiful terrariums at the store made it into such a magical place. I wanted my house to feel the same way, so I decided to venture on my own. I noticed she had made a terrarium in an apothecary jar. I had one just like it, and I had no clue what to do with it. I was confused about the fact that the plants were doing so well in such a confined and oxygen-deprived space. And it turns out, this is how terrariums enter the modern world. The year was 1827. A medical doctor and botany aficionado called Nathaniel Ward wanted to observe the development of a cocoon in a covered jar. After several weeks, he noticed a tiny fern was growing inside the jar. This happened because moisture would get trapped in the top of the container during the day and go back down as the sun did, keeping the soil moist. He was blown away by this since he had been trying to grow ferns for years and he failed due to the over-contaminated London air. He created a container that became a must-have for Victorian houses, the Wardian case. Wardian cases were extremely popular, and the travels done by thousands of English ships brought along exotic plants from tropical locations just perfect for display. Over the decades, terrarium making experienced a big decline. In the 1970s, the practice saw a comeback with new types of vases and containers, and in the 2000s, terrariums started to become more mainstream. I got a few tropical plants and went to the forest for moss. Moss fascinates me. It is everywhere in Portland, and it gives the city an extra touch of green. I gathered all the elements and got to work. First, I alternated layers of grounded hematite and white quartz. Then, I put a layer of charcoal. This is crucial to the plant's well-being since charcoal is necessary to create carbon dioxide from the oxygen the plants produce for the plants to breathe. Then moss, because I just love moss. And finally, these beautiful tropical plants. Voila! It was done. So simple, yet a little environment of its own. All of a sudden, I was hooked. My terrarium obsession did not stop there. I became a regular in thrift stores, and every vase had the potential to be a terrarium. I searched hard for unique and beautiful pieces. For my baby's room, I chose a beautiful succulent called Baby Toes. For the kitchen, I created a jungle inside a pear-shaped container. For my husband, I chose a xerographica, which is commonly known as the king of the air plants. For my boy Eddie, I gave him his own tree. And I had made more, and you get the picture. I realized it was getting expensive to buy so many plants, so I experimented with breeding. I started with outdoor succulents, which thrived in this weather. But then winter came, so I took over an unused bathroom in the house and made it into my own nursery. Welcome to Lucila's indoor nursery. So here I have a little hanging terrarium. It's pretty cool. It looks like a porcupine. I have some cacti that I brought from Missouri, different cacti, a purple star that I used to have one of these in Argentina, so I really like it. Some succulents, algae, moss, lichens, moss balls, but the best part, all my favorite things are over there. These are air plants. Air plants are awesome. You don't need soil or anything. You can just have them laying down like this and they will flower and be beautiful. Sedums. Chocolate succulents. These are lichens, which are my favorite right now. They're a combination of algae and fungus, so they all look kind of weird looking fungusy, mossy combination. They're awesome. And they look beautiful in terrariums. Ooh! These are my favorite. I found this at Forest Park. It's a piece of bark with moss and lichens shaped like Argentina, and the other one is shaped like Oregon. Coincidence? I don't think so. Cacti. I spend a lot of time in here, but it's okay. It's better than watching TV. I love moss. You might say it took over my life. I admit it. And I love it.